In September 2000, 18-year-old Prince William stepped before the cameras to explain how he was spending the next few months of his life. Attracted by a sense of adventure, he was destined for Chile and the South Atlantic. As captain of his school swimming team, William explains how he got the project off the ground.
I organised a water polo match and got sponsors and basically did the money that way. And I also raised money for a disadvantaged person to come on the expedition with me.
Had his father chipped in?
You might have helped slightly, not very much. So
chip in all the bloody time.
A new chapter in Prince William's life beckons. Spring 1998, a visit to Canada and a time to laugh again. This was the first appearance of the Wales trio. They'd found light after the awful darkness of Diana's death. It was a time for relaxation as they skied the Canadian Rocky Mountains. Charles & Sons were the latest family firm. William, who once hated photo calls, now bantered with reporters.
Larry is the best skier, is that true?
I don't know about that. We might have a family argument.
At Balmoral in August 1997, on another photo call just prior to their mother's death, the differences between the two boys' personalities were emerging. Harry was the more impulsive, William already a cautious young man. The living image of his mother, he faces a lifetime of duty.
For William, whatever happens to the monarchy, life is always going to be like it is for his mother. Hounded, harassed, pursued, privately as well as publicly. His misfortune as well as his good fortune being that he looks rather like her, and he's her legacy made flesh.
William faces the trials of youth without the guiding hand of his adoring mother. At the time of her death, her two young sons were only half raised to adult life.
William.
Thank you so much.
At her funeral, they coped with the trauma of her death and the outpouring of public grief. Later, their uncle, Earl Spencer, who shared their walk behind Diana's coffin, said, "My admiration for those boys is beyond bounds. It was the most amazing display of courage I'll ever see." William enjoyed an exceptionally close relationship with his mother. He was her friend and confidant. Her death sealed that bond forever. His thoughts turned to Harry, almost 13 at the time. Claims that Diana and her lover, Dodi Fayed, were assassinated in a Paris car crash have added to her son's grief.
Diana's death was an absolutely tragic accident. It was a basic case of drunken driving. And the Paris authorities and the Paris courts have now given their verdict on that. And it's very, very well documented. He will have gone through this time and time again. If you think that the influences of drugs and alcohol can kill, that's something which I think will sit very, very firmly in Prince William's mind. So that may indeed assist him.
William was already on the threshold of manhood, but Diana's death has brought out qualities of leadership and responsibility in him.
He has become a very strong young man. He was always strong, much stronger than his father, who is rather weak and who tends to blame other people for things that go wrong in his life. William was strong of mind when he was a boy, perhaps even a bit willful. Since his mother died, and particularly with Harry to look after, to oversee, he's assumed an importance which he wears very well. I mean, he happens to be, tall. He's a good-looking chap, very bright. But he changed in becoming a more independent boy, in taking control, in a sense, of the situation. And he was crucial, of course, to Harry's stability.
Shortly after Diana's death, Charles took Prince Harry to South Africa. In Johannesburg, they attended a Spice Girls concert. Harry relished the attention they gave him. It was a time to laugh and smile again, and to let his father join in the fun. South Africa was a long way from Britain in climate and culture. The trip was an opportunity for father and son to relax in a different atmosphere. The tour helped Harry create a geographical and emotional distance from the traumatic events since his mother's death.
He's become far more reflective. There are long periods, I understand, where he is very sort of contemplative in a way that he wasn't before. Well, he's only a young boy. I think all of us who have families and maybe have lost someone close can understand what may be going through his thoughts, disappointments. He must have periods of unhappiness, but he is quieter and more contemplative than he was before she died.
Like William, Harry can never forget the good times they had with their mother. She introduced them to new people, exciting places, and fresh adventures. A visit to watch a Welsh rugby match and a chance to drive an army tank in Germany were part of Harry's upbringing. She never wanted second born to mean second best.
In a conversation I had with the princess not long before she died in Kensington Palace, she did bring up the question of her concerns for Harry, in that William would always be the one, the centre stage one who was going to be king. She was worried, for instance, rather touchingly, I thought, that William would get all the girls. All the girls would go for wills, and poor Harry, who's only a couple of years younger, would be left out. And so she was already kind of taking steps to try and make sure that they were treated equally, even though in royal standing terms, William would always be number one.
Although she would have loved a daughter, Diana threw herself enthusiastically into the role of mother of two lively boys. She provided them with the thrills and spills that other children enjoyed. This was nothing like Charles's childhood. They raced each other in Colorado in July 1995 and shot down the slides at Thorpe Park another year. Distant summers of their past with their memories of a gentle and affectionate mother will always be in their hearts. But Diana was accused of upstaging her estranged husband and of spoiling her sons with too many lavish foreign holidays.
In a way, perhaps you spoil them with treats. I don't think you can spoil children with too much love and attention. I think that's a myth. But I found that she didn't spoil them in terms of being a sensible mother. She was very good at nagging them about their manners. And as a result, they're both beautifully mannered.
Diana also visited hostels for the homeless, such as Centrepoint in London, and talked to the occupants about their problems. She wanted William and Harry to have a social conscience and not lose sight of real life outside palace walls. They visited Centrepoint with her, and William took an early interest in her work for the underprivileged.
She was concerned that they weren't going to grow up spoiled or sort of too much within that tradition. And she used to love taking them to see, the homeless and wear the jeans and just, go down to brass tacks. I mean, she was terribly concerned that they should see that side of life.
She desperately wanted to get them away from the life of privilege, which she knew that they were destined to lead for the rest of their lives. She feared they would grow up like Prince Charles had grown up.
She didn't want them to see reality through the polished windows of a passing limousine. She wanted them to know it as she knew it.
Displays of affection were absent in Prince Charles's childhood. Often separated for months from his mother, he still had to wait his turn for a brief and cool reunion. There could be no greater contrast with Diana. After a brief Canadian tour, she scooped her children into her arms. Charles, too, was more tactile than his parents had been with him. Diana wanted William and Harry to share the experiences other children enjoyed. While Diana believed it was essential for William and Harry to sample life outside castles and palaces, she was criticised for straying too far from traditional patterns of raising royal children.
She was determined that her boys would not grow up like that. She wanted to keep their feet on the ground, so she used to take them to supermarkets, go shopping, take them to the movies, queue up at McDonald's and at fun fair, leisure parks, all in a desperate attempt to give them some experience of the real world.
Sometimes the real world became impossible for Diana and her children. They were simply too famous. In 1993, a private visit to Disney World in Florida was ruined by other tourists who took pictures and made an amateur video of the royal group. Diana resented these intrusions. Even on public engagements, she hated having to run the gauntlet of pushing photographers who closed in on her. She felt hunted and hounded. Scenes like this seem a terrible omen of her last hours. Above all, Diana loathed the media scrum and the battles with paparazzi when she was out with her sons. The constant attention upset them.
I remember a terrible fight in the street in Austria when William and Harry were caught right in the middle of it. Two Italian paparazzi tried to, really get literally right up their noses. It was ridiculous. They're trying to take pictures from this sort of distance. And Diana objected and got very upset, and her policeman rugby tackled one of the photographers to the ground. Well, the two boys were standing there watching all this, and they became very concerned, and Diana had to hurry them away back to their hotel. Incidents like that, and there have been so many of them, have really traumatised William. Harry doesn't suffer so much. Harry's rather thick-skinned. He's very like his mother. He quite revels in the spotlight and makes jokes about it.
Bodyguards always accompanied the boys on trips, but they were unable to prevent the harassment they received from the paparazzi and sometimes from the public. Unlike other children, William and Harry were always on show. Lines of holidaymakers would stare as if they were exhibits in a zoo. Harry felt uncomfortable. William grew to loathe cameras and would even hide from prying lenses.
William's problems with cameramen are so bad now that they've become a serious worry to the Queen. He doesn't like the spotlight, hates publicity, hates facing cameramen, and I think that's largely because he saw his mother involved in so many scuffles in the street. I remember talking to Diana about this once and saying, she said, "Oh, William doesn't like being photographed," and I said, "Well, I'm sorry, it goes with the job. If you're going to be a king, you've got to be photographed." She said, "Oh, you're very hard." And I said, "Well, I think I'm just being realistic. The sooner William gets accustomed to photographers, the better it's going to be easier for William."
Diana tried to protect her children from press intrusion, sometimes by taking direct action.
Excuse me. As a parent, could I ask you to respect my children's space?
Yes, no problem at all.
Because I brought the children out here for a holiday.
William doesn't like the cameras because he saw the appalling things it did to his mother. So much is said about Diana and photographers, about photo opportunities being created out of nothing so that she could be photographed. The reality is that she hated being pursued by cameras.
This incident at Malaga Airport in 1994 shows the type of hounding Diana resented and William hated.
William saw this. He sympathised with his mother. He even said to her once, "I'll be a policeman when I grow up and I'll look after you." So, again, we are talking here about the teachings of a child. And when a child sees and feels something that powerful when they're young, as William did, it's not a surprise to me that he has grown up feeling an antagonism towards lenses which are looking at him. Hopefully he'll get over it. After all, as an adolescent, in moving into manhood, he's going through that rather difficult period. But he does hate cameras. He's going to have to get used to them. They're always going to be there.
In August 1999, William set off for the annual family holiday. Teenage friends were invited as companions for William and Harry. Press reports claimed that William had also invited Camilla to join the royal party aboard the yacht Alexander. Loaned by Prince Charles's friend, the Greek billionaire John Latsis, it's an ideal location for the royal family holiday away from the prying eyes of the hungry press.
But there is no way that the Prince of Wales defers to Camilla for advice on how to raise the children. And in fact, Camilla has made it absolutely clear she wants no part in that. There is a huge constituency out here still of people who feel that the Prince did Diana very badly. And the last thing they want is to see any influence of Camilla over her sons. And although the three get along, which is great, I think they should all get along, she's not consulted in terms of important issues concerning the boys' welfare.
Charles had already publicly stepped out with his longtime mistress earlier in the year. He's determined to have her accepted as his partner, despite speculation that her presence might disrupt the lives of his sons.
I mean, they are socially and privately very comfortable with each other. It's only this whole idea built up by the press, goodness gracious me, you know, the other woman, you know, what's going to happen when the poor princes meet, you know, the wicked witch from Wiltshire, which of course she isn't. So, I mean, it's all a farce. I mean, they get on extremely well together and they encourage, I think they see that their father's very happy with Camilla. And, I mean, she's quite a charming person, you know, in her own right. She's got a great sense of humour. And Camilla Parker Bowles, would know how to make boys of that age laugh. And she'd be funny and jokey with them, and so no problems there at all.
William is often seen as the great hope of the royal family, a point seemingly made by the Queen Mother on her 99th birthday. Fond of Prince Charles, she hopes that William has the charisma and stature to sustain a popular monarchy in the future. At now over 6 feet, William is destined to become the tallest sovereign since King Henry VIII. On Christmas morning at Sandringham, the young prince couldn't help overshadowing the rest of the royal family. Prince Charles often jokes that he's shrinking as his boys are growing. In April 1999, William, his arm in a sling after a sports injury, became a godfather to the grandson of the exiled King Constantine of Greece, a longtime friend of the royal family and a godfather himself to William. His shy, awkward charm reminds observers of the teenage Diana.
One of the problems he has is just like Diana when she was younger. She was rather sort of clumsy when she first came on the public scene. She was tall, probably too tall. And it's awkward for him. He's looking down on most people, including his own father. But he's also he's so self-conscious and shy that in any public place, with or without the press there, he will be looking down in that very sort of Diana-ish way. And it hasn't done him any favours. His deportment is not good. He developed a bit of a stoop, and they had to talk to him about it, try and get him to, you know, look at people and smile. And you'll see that he blushes as well, like Diana always did.
William shared his godparent duties with Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden. At the Greek Orthodox ceremony, they vowed their support for baby Constantine, named after his grandfather who had lost his throne. William was at ease among the other young royals.
He's got that nice sort of self-effacing, very charming, easy manner about him, and he's slightly shy, which girls of a similar age like. I mean, I think that a lot of sort of teenage girls find boys of their own age rather aggressive. They're sort of into what I call the point-scoring thing, you know. And I don't think he's that at all. They like the shyness. They like the fact that, rather like his mother, he looks down sometimes when he talks to you, and he's not too boisterous.
In September 1995, William began the last stage of his school life at Eton College near Windsor. Charles and Diana were agreed on the choice of Eton. Charles had been miserable at Gordonston in Scotland, and they wanted William to have a more enjoyable schooling. At 13, William was already getting into the swing of things.
when he arrived at Eton, he had most enormous sort of photographs of Pamela Anderson with very little on, and other nudes on his walls. And I think his tutor said to him, you know, do you think maybe we could tone this down a bit, you know? So that was very interesting. So he was obviously into girls at a very early age.
The new boy found he liked the Eton regime, even wearing the traditional uniform of long-tailed coat and striped trousers. He made friends with boys from a wide variety of backgrounds and progressed rapidly in his studies. Inevitably, the press thought up stories about his school days.
We all find it quite amusing reading the tabloids at breakfast, as it gives you a chance to see what is supposed to have gone on, all of which we tend to know nothing about. Often I imagine it's made up the night before when there is a shortage of actual news. I'm always amused to read that Prince William is very lucky to have his own room and everyone else stays in dormitories. Well, my experience was I was given my own room right from the start.
Founded in 1440 by King Henry VI, Eton is the most famous English public school. All the men in Diana's family had been educated there, so she was keen for William to follow her family's tradition. Although Diana's own academic achievements were poor, she was keen for her sons to receive the best schooling. William, as the future king, needed a formal education with strong competition.
When he arrived at Eton, well, we knew he was quite bright because he'd passed the entrance exam, and we knew he had done well at Ludgrove, his prep school. But Eton's a hothouse these days. You've got to be pretty intelligent and you've got to be quite academic to get on there. And it seems that William is. He did spectacularly well in his O-levels. He's got a dozen or so, all very good grades, his GCSEs. He is doing, as I say, 3 A-levels, and he's determined to get into university on merit. William streets ahead of his father. Prince Charles limped through school at Gordonstoun. Of course, he hated it, loathed every minute of it. He got 1 or 2 respectable qualifications, managed to get into Cambridge with a little help from his friends, I think. William, I think, as I say, will do it on merit. He's up for 3 A-levels. He should pass those fairly comfortably. If he gets some very good grades, there's no reason why he shouldn't actually get into Cambridge and go to his father's old college, Trinity.
With the arrival of Prince William, the school had to increase its security for its most famous pupil. Accommodation had to be provided for William's personal bodyguard. The school and the staff supported William through his parents' divorce and his mother's tragic death. The pastoral care at Eton is provided through the house system. William is cared for by his housemaster, Dr. Gailey, but the headmaster also takes an interest in his studies.
The parents are invited to talk to the headmaster after any chapel service at the weekends. So there is plenty of scope for the parents to talk to their headmaster. Many parents get to know throughout their child's career their housemasters very well and will often ring up, chat to the housemaster, or perhaps come to supper with the housemaster. So they're able to get a very good insight into the child's education and how the child is fitting in. There are certainly no cases I know of where the child being dumped at Eton and left to get on with it.
The choice of Eton attracted charges of elitism. Critics felt that William was being educated in an old-fashioned, class-based system, remarkable for its strange outfits and traditions. But Eton's customs, like the 4th of June, are stoutly defended by its boys.
The 4th of June is the Eton picnic, as it's often called. This is a chance for the parents to come along and see a bit of Eton. There is a cricket match going on, there is the procession of boats where the boys row down the river and wave their hats into the river to allow the flowers to float past in a wonderful procession.
William is a keen sportsman. He enjoys Eton's many activities such as soccer, rugby, tennis, water polo and rowing. He has done well academically, gaining 12 GCSEs. In September 1998, William began his A-level courses in English, geography and the history of art. He is considering a gap year before going to university.
There's talk, isn't there, that he will go to Australia and to Argentina. I can certainly see him going to Australia without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, his father did that, and you see, Prince William is a great swimmer, like his mother. He's a hell of a good swimmer. So all that sort of surfing and you know, Bondi Beach stuff, that would be right up his street.
William is the captain of Eton's swimming team. He has led them to victory many times, including this triathlon where his team finished 10 minutes ahead of their nearest rivals. Like many young boys from Eton, William has easy access at weekends to the busy social scene in London, where the drug culture dominates. Some people believe that children educated at boarding school away from their parents are more vulnerable to temptation.
I'm not at all in favour of boarding schools because that separates children from a very early age from a nurturing environment. Many of them is not appropriate for, some of them it is, and they then find themselves in a population where everybody feels much more or less the same sort of sense of loss. And if all of them get a reasonable amount of pocket money, as most of them would do at a private school like Eton, then they have ready access to buy the drugs that would somehow make it up to them for the cut-off from the mother's love.
On state and ceremonial occasions, William and Harry accepted they would be on display. They appeared on Buckingham Palace balcony each June to watch Trooping the Colour with the rest of the royal family. In 1990, they watched the ceremony that commemorated the Battle of Britain, a lengthier test of endurance for the royal children. Honouring the brave was very important to the Queen. Younger royals found such occasions boring. 6-year-old Harry and his 2-year-old cousin Princess Beatrice performed an impromptu quick-step. Diana had to remind him that he was in public. William copied his older cousins, Princess Anne's daughter Zara and her son Peter, who had been drilled in royal etiquette early in life. After church at Easter and Christmas, the royal family were on parade for the crowds and the cameras. Diana felt under pressure to make her lively young boys conform to the standards of the senior royals. As heirs to the throne, she was training William and Harry for public service, showing them how to greet people who had waited hours in the cold to see them. Diana's special touch with ordinary people was a gift her sons have inherited, each in his own way. Harry grew into an impish, adorable child. William grew conscious of his special destiny and was more reserved. There were family examples of dedication to the monarchy all around him. In October 1991, when William was 9 and Harry 7, they accompanied their parents to Canada, their first official visit as a family. Diana had taken the lead in preparing them for this first formal introduction to representing the monarchy abroad. She had no idea that this training would help them respond to public sympathy after her death. Despite images of unity, Charles was distant from his family. Diana and her boys were often apart from him. She tried to make up for his absences.
Diana really loved her boys. Some people say she almost smothered them when they were little. But because her marriage wasn't working, she put all her emotions and love into those 2 children. It's a very common thing. And she used to take them into bed with her, and she'd hug them and kiss them, and they'd sit and watch television with her. And if they were ill, she would go into hospital with them. I mean, she really was a very good mother. And anyone else that intruded on her space as a mother, she didn't like.
As they sailed from Canada on the royal yacht Britannia, the Prince and Princess of Wales were visibly ill at ease. Aboard Britannia 6 years earlier, the story appeared to be a happier one. William and Harry were often formal with Charles and more casual with Diana. They learned to balance the divided lives and different lifestyles of their parents.
Especially at the time of the separation and the divorce, I think as all children do, not wanting to alienate either side. And okay, in some respects they were slightly the go-betweens, and yet they always were very careful not to upset Diana by mentioning things they knew would upset her, and they always said, "Daddy loves you."
William grew attuned to Diana's emotions amid the turmoil of his parents' disintegrating marriage. As years went by, he became her confidant and often comforted her in her distress. Among the royal family are several male role models for William and Harry to look up to. Perhaps the best is Princess Anne's son Peter, a handsome rugby player now studying sports science at university.
They really look up to him as a hero, as an elder brother, and William in particular, and to a certain extent Harry, get on very well with Peter Phillips. And whenever they go to Balmoral, they like Peter Phillips to be there when he can be, just because he's like the big brother that they didn't have, that Wills didn't have, and they look up to him.
Diana was a mother to be proud of. She gave her boys unquestioning love and attention, whatever the problems in her personal life or the demands of her public role. While there were many wonderful trips to expensive locations, she also taught them about the humanitarian causes she campaigned for, including AIDS, leprosy, cancer, and landmine victims. Diana's enemies ridiculed her good intentions, whether in her charity work or with her children. She was frequently accused of courting the media and rivaling her husband with photo opportunities of herself as the better parent. Like all the Queen's grandchildren, William and Harry are the products of a broken home. The sad breakdown of their parents' marriage and subsequent divorce was played out in front of the world's press.
You have to remember, because of their tender years, that actually half their lives had been blighted by the public warfare of their parents' very acrimonious divorce. It's tough enough for any kids if their parents split up at that age, but in the case of William and Harry, there was all sorts of public warfare, the dirty linen being hung out a bit too much, friends of Prince Charles, friends of Diana, mutual insults flying in the national press. The schools can say that they hid the newspapers from these boys, but we all know that other school children can be pretty cruel, and it's not always possible to do that. I think both parents, in their different ways, tried to nurse them through each stage, and we know that Diana kept going down to these schools to tell them what was going to happen next before they read it in the papers. But I think it's bound to have left scars on both of them. And it would be surprising if William and Harry, in their different ways, didn't grow up without certain emotional problems that any children who'd been through that at that age would have.
The tragedy is that Diana is not here to see the mature way in which William and Harry have coped with her own emotional trauma. She would have been proud of her boys. At Diana's funeral, her brother Earl Spencer vowed to protect his nephews.
Your boundless energy, which you could barely. My own and only explanation is that genuine goodness is threatening to those at the opposite end of the moral spectrum.
Charles Spencer is much liked by William, and Charles likes William too, but they're not as close as perhaps both might have wished they could be, principally because Spencer spends most of his year still in southern Africa. Nevertheless, Charles has, I know, dropped into Eton, taken William out to lunch from time to time, and William has been up to Althorpe, Diana's ancestral home, for shooting.
Sadly, William and Harry see little these days of their young cousins, Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice, daughters of Sarah, Duchess of York, now effectively banned from royal circles since her divorce from the Duke of York. Sarah says that senior members of the royal family, such as Prince Charles, regard her as pointless. This has led to a distancing of the two families that were once very close.
It's a shame. Beatrice and Eugenie are their first cousins, Prince Andrew's children. But it all springs from a year or so before their mother, Princess of Wales, died. She and Fergie fell out. They weren't on speaking terms pretty much for the last year of her life, and as a consequence, William and Harry, who had up until that stage regularly spent time with Beatrice and Eugenie, especially at weekends when they would swim at their pool in the summer, just stopped going. And in the last year or two, they've been very little contact except at official royal functions.
In the past, they shared holidays together, such as this ski trip in 1995 to Cloisters, Charles's favourite ski resort. When 4-year-old Eugenie fell in the deep snow, her 12-year-old cousin William was close at hand. This is one of the few occasions when he has readily taken part in a photo call.
How are you enjoying your holidays together?
Fun, Alex.
Enjoying it? It's good. Good fun.
You can turn this way slightly. Maybe this way.
Well, improving these two, very good.
They're improving.
Very good skiers.
Richard, sorry, could you ask round here? Sorry. Rob,
Sorry.
they're not looking at your side. Sorry. Do you think, can we do something different? The two boys put the skis down. You think you just...
Yes, it'd be good fun. Yeah, very good. Enjoy it.
Can you look? Looks good.
You're right, Eugenie. Beatrice?
Oh, nice and close together if you can, please.
Both the Queen and Queen Mother have taken a close interest in William's upbringing. He grew up a thoughtful, courteous boy, ready to help others without prompting. Although Diana had difficult relationships with the royal family, she knew that William had to be taught by them for his future role. Whitewater rafting was one of the outdoor activities Diana's sons experienced, in contrast to the more traditional forms of royal pastimes like hunting, shooting and fishing. At home, she took them go-karting, and on holiday in Colorado in 1995, she allowed them to ride quad bikes despite protestations from their father. Since her death, William and Harry have not repeated this type of holiday. William is Harry's protector, especially after he joined him at Eton in 1998. Harry is the tearaway of the family, William the quieter and more traditional one.
He doesn't mother Harry, and I don't think Harry needs mothering either. I mean, Harry's going to be quite a little tiger. Harry's going to be different from William, but I mean, Harry's going to be quite a little tiger in his own right, I think.
Tiggy Legge-Bourke, their former nanny, has helped William and Harry cope with the shock of their mother's death. She joined Charles's staff in 1993 when he shared custody of the boys with Diana. Sporty and adventurous, Tiggy became a vital part of their lives, but was criticised for allowing them to take part in some dangerous activities, such as abseiling down the side of a dam without protective headgear. Charles was reportedly horrified.
Harry was very firm in defending Tiggy. I mean, his point was, this is what we wanted to do, Papa. Tiggy just happened to be there. The fact that she organised it, provided all the equipment and the soldiers who happened to know their way down that dam and ensured that it was safely done is another thing, of course. But yeah, he was tremendously defensive, especially when he heard that Tiggy was going to get into trouble over it.
When Charles is unavailable, Tiggy Legge-Bourke takes over. Often described as a nanny, she's from a courtier's family and is more like a big sister to the boys. Diana had resented her.
The public was very anxious while Diana was alive, and I think the public sided with Diana, who always felt that since she didn't need to engage a man to sort of play the role of father when the boys were with her, she never quite understood why Charles needed to engage a woman to play the role of mother when they were with him. However, they do like Tiggy. They like her a lot.
One of Charles's favourite sports is polo. He was an enthusiastic player until injuries limited his performance. He rarely plays now, but would like to see his boys take up the game.
Well, there's no doubt about it that the Prince of Wales would love both his sons to become polo players. I mean, it's a brilliant game anyway. I mean, it is somebody said to me, what a lovely way to have a sweat, and it is, really. It's sort of, I mean, riding horses, the involvement with horses. You've got none of the problems you've got with fox hunting and, you know, the blood sports angle. You're sitting on a horse, hitting a ball, and you've got a nice degree of physical contact with the riding off and you know, the hooking of the sticks. It's a good, strong, manly game, and apart from the fact it's bloody good fun.
Reluctantly, Diana took her boys to watch Charles on the polo field. She found the game boring, like most of her husband's interests, but realised that her sons felt differently. They enjoyed the whole polo experience. William has gone on to take lessons himself. He now owns his own polo pony and has a real aptitude for the sport.
William and Harry have been given sort of private lessons, sort of not quite behind closed doors, but without anybody watching them. And both of them enjoy the game. The problem, the major problem that William is going to have, of course, is he's left-handed. And of course there are no left-handed polo players in the world. You know, when you line up, you've got to line up right hand to right hand, which is quite obvious because otherwise people would kill each other. What you're talking about in polo is swinging the stick. You've got to get that whole swing and the swing of the shoulders. So he is going to have to switch his whole body balance from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. That'll be difficult for him.
Princes are expected to have a military career. Charles was in the Navy, but William has shown an interest in the army.
He's doing very, very well in the combined cadet force at Eton. I understand that he won the Sash of Honour last year, which was for the most outstanding sort of young cadet, soldier cadet of his year at Eton. So that's a big thing. He's going to be a soldier prince. And there's this big talk, and I'm sure this is right, that he's going to go into the Welsh Guards. That will be obvious, because when his father becomes king, he will be the next Prince of Wales, so he'd have to go in the Welsh Guards. So that would make a lot of sense. Good regiment, nice regiment.
The night before Diana's funeral, William and Harry had prayed beside her coffin with their family and with leaders of the Landmine Survivors Network with whom she'd recently visited Bosnia. William and Harry chose to walk behind the coffin. Earl Spencer commented, "My admiration for those boys is beyond bounds. It was the most amazing display of courage I'll ever see." In his eulogy to Diana from Westminster Abbey, he swore the Spencer family would protect them.
And the sparkle in those unforgettable eyes, your boundless energy.
He pledged that Diana's blood family would continue the way she was rearing her sons, so that they were not simply immersed in duty and tradition.
Bearing in mind what Earl Spencer said at the Abbey in that very contentious and rather bitter speech about the blood family looking over the upbringing of the boys, one would have expected them to see more of William and Harry. They don't, and one of the reasons, undoubtedly, is that what Earl Spencer said upset Prince Charles because it called into question his abilities as a father. Most fathers don't need another family, albeit the in-law family, to say, we shall be watching you, we shall be watching you. And it was a very unfortunate choice of words that he used.
Diana went home to Althorp, the Spencer family estate. She was buried on a tranquil island in a lake within the park of her ancestral home. Flowers were taken to her grave and scattered so that they will reseed and grow again. Her brother chose the island as her final resting place so that William and Harry would be able to visit her graveside in privacy. On Mother's Day, they sent flowers there. Earl Spencer opened Althorp and its Diana Museum to the public for 2 months a year. Diana's will had given the Spencer family the moral authority to help guide William and Harry to maturity. But the boys remained closer to their father than their uncle. In her final years, Diana and her brother had not been close.
They hadn't really seen eye to eye for quite a long time. They'd had their ups and downs, and the families didn't really meet very frequently in a year. So Charles Spencer's family and his children hardly knew William and Harry, as a result of which it is definitely known that the boys do want to be with their father on all occasions now. I mean, they go to Highgrove to see him when they can, and throughout the holidays they want to be with him. Also remember that Charles has deliberately gone out of his way to have his diary cleared for school holidays so he can spend as much time with the boys as he can.
The other woman in their lives is Camilla Parker Bowles, whom Diana blamed for the breakdown of her marriage. Public opinion is still divided over her acceptance as Charles's partner.
She's brought up 2 children of her own. One suspects he asks her advice from time to time about things. In the recent years, in the crucial, recent, difficult years, when the boys were growing up and when it became clear, even to them, that they could not avoid knowing about the existence of this lady.
In July 1998, it emerged that William had agreed to meet Camilla. Charles had recognized the maturity in his elder son.
Only recently, in fact, has Charles had any form of formal discussion about the situation with William. William's attitude was, whatever makes you happy, Papa.
The Queen Mother shares the Queen's pride in Diana's boys. William in particular has grown close to the Queen, who has identified in her grandson the qualities required to make a fine king.
Whether William, given that all he's been through, might say in the next few years, who needs this? The people don't seem to want us anymore. We're going into Europe. What's the monarchy's role? It would be very human and people would understand if he said, I don't think I want to do this.
Can Diana's sons hope for personal happiness after their great loss?
Let's just hope for both their sakes that those boys are given the freedom to make marriages that really work, find girls that they really care about, who really care about them, who are prepared to put up with all the inconveniences of being royal, as well as the considerable perks and home comforts of being royal, but above all that these marriages don't end in divorce, like their parents, like so many royal marriages recently, because of the strains and because of the people in the House of Windsor being so cold to the people that marry into it. I think Diana's left enough with those boys for that not to be true of them.
As the years go by without her, Diana's sons will draw on her legacy of love and her caring for others. Earl Spencer said, Diana brought to their lives something quite different and wonderful. With Prince Charles's help, they will build on her foundation, making a more secure monarchy for the future. Diana's efforts will not have been in vain.